Hello and welcome to another exciting unboxing adventure. This time I've got Lego, and it's an exceedingly large piece of Lego. This is the Avengers Helicarrier, and it's quite a bit bigger than I thought it would be. It obscures me almost entirely, which is quite nice because I get terrible stage fright. So I'm gonna try something now that I haven't done before. I'm gonna unbox this now, and then I'm gonna build it. But it's going to take hours to build this, so I'm going to have to figure some sort of time lapse out for that, which may or may not work. So it's either going to be me unboxing this and then cutting to me having built it, or not. I'm saying I'm going to open it. There's no visible method to open it. Do I just tear it? Ah. Signs, tape, my old nemesis. One day, I'll put a knife on set. Not today, but one day. I've just torn the box. Woe is me. I had hell trying to get this. Brought him like weeks or months ago. The delivery company kept saying, "Oh yeah, we've been out. You know, you weren't there, so we couldn't give it to you." I was like, "Bullshit. I don't leave. I never leave." The place it was being delivered to, it's not like it was just some house on an estate with no door or anything. It's like it's a business address. There's receptionists everywhere. You can't be there and like no one's there. It's one bit of tape. It's fucking me up. It's very low tech. I thought Lego would have something more fancy blocking it in, but apparently not. Alright, so straight away, bag 8. Apparently all Lego now, it comes in bags and they're all labelled, making it really easy to assemble them. What the hell is that? 12, it's tiny. Okay, this one isn't numbered though. 7, 10. Oh, wow! This is the real thing. I'm hoping this isn't the instructions right here, because it's a very large book. Okay, right. I got a sheet of stickers that I can accept. What on earth is this? It's better just be a catalogue. The size of the bastard. It's huge. These are the instructions. My God. How many pages? It's 440 pages. Granted, they're simplistic instructions with just pictures, but why didn't I start simple? I could have started with a mini kit. I've recently come into some money and I needed something dumb to spend it on. Since I get sent all my video games for free now, that is no longer an option. Have a PC, no longer an option there. So the last vestige was just throw it all at Lego. That's a good idea. Part of me is regretting this. It never ends. There's a good smell coming off of this. Right, now I've found something here. This was buried under everything. It's a large box. Everything just has the number on it, and there's some weird stickers. I do mean weird. It's just, I don't know what the symbol means. Does it mean to push in? I think it does. I almost don't want to open this because I feel like I'll get to a point in the instructions where it says, and here's how you open the white box, and it's spring loaded. Let's get that out of the way for a minute. Right, okay, good. Let's just gently but firmly drop that. I hope these instructions are, good, and they actually start your, wow, no, page one. Page one is just start, pretty much. Okay, here we go. Oh good, there are genuine instructions on how to begin. Step 1, open the box. Step 2, open the package. Step 3, build what's in the package. Step 4, open a new package. Okay. Okay, and there's also an advert for a Lego brick separator, which I've heard from the master builders of the world, you don't need. You can just use your hands, which I would agree with. So, right, this is, you'll probably notice that this is going to take me about a week. So between building certain bags, I'll suddenly be much more bearded, or less, depending on how I feel at the time. So watch me build this. It'll be fast, I'm sure. And boom, it's done. It's complete. It's all put together. Every single little individual piece. It took forever. I had to stop halfway through. Well, that's not even remotely to it. It took me about 5 days to put it together. It's a very enjoyable build. Nothing too iffy, except for one small issue. I lost a piece. Piece that looks just like that. A sort of cylinder. Looks a bit like pasta. It's part of the gear mechanism. I lost one of those bits very early on, so I took it from later in the pack, and it meant that basically I was very late attaching one of the engines. So you see in the separate video of me building it that I couldn't get all the engines on quite as easily as I'd liked. So it moves. Look at that. It's somewhat impressive. You can get the engines moving. It's quite nice that the handle to do that is completely hidden by this top deck. They all move at once. I could do that a lot, really. It's oddly impressive the way it all went together. Yeah, very nice. Yes, very nice indeed. So I'll punch in a minute to get a closer look at all the action here, but just from a distance, it looks really nice. All these, there's a few little extra bits that look great. The little men dotted about, they were a very nice touch. I didn't know they were a thing in Lego. These I'm particularly fond of, just the little Quinjets, the way they sit there. It just adds something, along with all these little flourishes on top. You don't need them, but they just really build it out. And you'll be a bit confused. I'm filming everything out of order, so I'll say some things twice and some things not at all. But I have discovered that to get to the inner deck area, you very carefully lift up this section. Now I've got to do it very carefully. Well, it's not careful at all actually. It's not even attached, which threw me off entirely. Somehow I built the whole thing and didn't realise. And if you get right on in there, you can see the command center, and in there is Nick Fury sat watching all the screens, and there's windows out to the front, so you could see, troubling elements as they develop. That's quite nice. It does just lift on and off, and it's not attached at all, and it's not going to come off in a hurry because it's right on top. It's flat on top, and you don't lift it by that bit unless you're mental. Just put that there, back where I like it. Not 100% sold on this stick that attaches the Quinjet. I like the idea of it, to give it some action. This just flying in, ready to land. Although you also realise it's a bit odd. Quinjets, I'm pretty sure they're VTOL aircraft, aren't they? You don't need an aircraft carrier if it's VTOL, do you? Then they just go straight up and pretty much straight down. But there's these regular jets as well, so that's fine. It's acceptable. Got this little stand that it sits on. So there's that. I actually quite like it just sat as is, but I suppose if you've got a smaller thing to put it on, this is helpful because it only takes up that much space, whereas on here it's as it is. Plus, you might not want it sat on just like a wooden table or whatever. I'm odd in that I have this carpeted top for whatever reason. It's a little bit tricky to get to sit on that because it doesn't. You can't line it up with anything that easily on the outside, but it works well enough. And then there's like a sticker of information which says configuration dual seaworthy and airborne aircraft carrier Remember in the Avengers at the start when it's on the ocean, and then he thinks it's going to dive down, but actually it goes up. Length 1,486 feet. Don't know if that's true. Width 970 feet. That's even more meaningless to me because I'm used to metric as opposed to imperial. Propulsion, vertical takeoff and landing system with 4 turbofan engines. I don't fully know what they mean by that, because there's these 4 fans. I get that. You presume they do most of the lifting work, don't you? And then at the back here, there's these engines, which they come off quite easily until right now when I want to take one off. Either way, they're there, and you presume they do thrust. But then it kind of implies that these are VTOL, and then there's 4 separate lifting fans. So I don't know about that. Engine diameter 170 feet. So if this is the engine they mean, that's 170, and then that's no, that's not an engine, is it? Is that an engine? I don't know. What do you call that? No, the engine would be in there somewhere. It does all the actual work, doesn't it? Turns fuel into movement. Runways total 2. 1 for forward launch takeoffs. Guessing that one. With direct access to the hangar. Oh, I see. So presumably there'd be that, you'd go down there and that would get them in the hangar through some sort of lift system. And then, wait, no. 1 for forward launch takeoffs with direct access to hangar. 1 for landings. So this is the landing one. And then they go down this newly formed ramp to get home again, I guess. Take off, land. Apparently that was a huge thing in aircraft carrier design, was putting the 2 runways at an angle, because if you didn't, it meant if you came into land and you couldn't, you died. Whereas when it's at an angle, if you come into land and you couldn't, you just take off and go round. Apparently that's a huge ordeal. Stealth abilities. Retro-reflective panels lining hull. Which I guess is code for those sort of jaunty angled panels that you see on stealth things. I didn't know this had any kind of stealth abilities, so that's news to me. I've got the Hulk here just for a little drama, and also Ultron there. He's just fenced off and contained. That's all you can do with Ultron. You can't kill him. You can merely contain his prowess. All right, so I'll punch in for more detailed info. Oh yeah, additional. So during the build process, I found out 1, it comes with this, which is a brick separator. It actually works really well. If you've got 2 stuck together, you put that on the top one, and just a tiny amount of force, and through lever action, it just separates them quite nicely. And then this little thing here, which you can jam down the hold ones to push them out, which is quite well thought out. It's quite useful actually. That was just in, I think, bag 1. The bag situation, which was a bit confusing at first. They start you out with, no, I'll get onto that later. I had a few extra pieces that, initially I was concerned, but as I went on, I realised they just give you extras of the tiny bits. Yeah, don't know if there's any real use to them whatsoever, but there's plenty of them now. You can't build anything with them. Only a few of them even fit together. Although looking at it, I think this was meant to go somewhere. That bit's fallen off, so I'll worry about that someday. All right, how's this for a close up? Is this a bit better? Can you see the gear movements now? Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Is there any troubling thing with big Lego sets like this? When it's a vehicle, if you have it on a shelf, anything above sort of, I don't know, nipple high, you can't even really see the side. That's fine if a vehicle has a lot of good detail on the side, but this one's got a lot of detail on top, which is quite nice. It's unusual for a vehicle if you think about it. Or is it? No, I'm not sure now. Either way, it's got a lot going on because, all the flight decks up here. You got the cockpit here, it's very nice. There's 2 little men in there driving. There's a desk. Obviously the SHIELD Helicarrier, the main command center, is underneath. It's under here, and you'll see when I was building it, In fact, it's actually directly under here. You can remove this to sort of peer in and have it open. The instructions don't really tell you how to do that. They just tell you that you can. I'm guessing I'd just grab it and lift it out. I'm not going to do that because I'll forget how it all goes back. But you can see on the making of video the bit in there, and in the flight deck there's like 20 little LCD screens, which are a pain in the arse to put in, but they actually look very cool now they're there. The only slight regret I have, I didn't put any of the little SHIELD personnel in there. Look, his tiny cap. Can you see him? He's tiny. There's actually a surprisingly good amount of detail on here. The only real issue is that they appear to have made him, if not black, at the very least extremely tan. I'll assume that's for modern issues. So the first thing you build is this little SHIELD emblem, which is actually very nice. And it was a teaching moment because I opened bag 1, and the very first piece you need is it's kind of like a square cut in half, if you will, a triangle almost. And I was looking for it, I was like, oh, it's not in here. They've buggered me already. And it was at that point I discovered, well, it was 10 minutes after searching for it, that I discovered the bags are numbered. The number of bags is not given though. So the instructions will say bag 1 for this step, go. What they actually mean is there are 5 bags with bag 1 on it, open all of them. They don't tell you how many bags there are with the numbers on, so it's anywhere between 1 and 3. So there were a lot of times where I was stuck for ages and then discovered another bag. So on here you'll also see all the minifigs. You got Scarjo, you got Nicolaus, you got Cap, who comes with a shield, Maria Hill, which is an odd choice, and then Hawkeye at the end. Now the weird one is Black Widow. If you look at her, I don't know if this is normal for minifigs, but she's got like her bodysuit is painted over the figurine, so she's meant to be more slender than a Lego body can be. It's quite hard to explain, but I think if you look closer, you'll understand what I'm saying. Either way, that's the figurines you get, and to be fair, I was wondering why they give you them. I've just realised I've got her legs on backwards. In fact, yeah, have I never noticed that? Oh, that's better. Yeah, I quite like they give you the minifigs because, you know, you might as well. They're quite nice little trinkets. But they also give you somewhere to put them, which is on this little shield stand, which just it sits quite nicely around the damn thing, which is nice. It just sort of completes the display. There's also down there, you can't see it from here, but it's been visible elsewhere. There's a little plate with all the information on it, and the stand which this whole thing sits on. It just sits on it. It's not attached in any way. It's actually quite hard getting it to sit on it, because that's the other thing about this. It's big. It's well put together. It's not going to fall apart on its own, but if you want to lift it up, you have to be able to grab it by something fairly solid. Like if I grabbed it by this just going to lift right off. If I grab it by one of these I'm trying to pick stuff that won't be a pain in the ass to put back. I can't grab it by the little forklift because that will just come straight off. But if I try and grab it by this top bit, this will come straight off. This is actually barely attached. This bit up here. I thought briefly there might be some way it kind of rotated to use the actual word, but I can't see as that being a thing. Also this, I'm not so sure about this. Is that meant to be a ramp up and down, or is it meant to be up? Is it meant to be down? I don't know. It's sort of there. I mean, it fits well with the curve, but still. Another slight issue I had while putting it together. Lego instructions, I don't know if you're aware of this. They let me find a nice example page that can sort of give you what I mean by when I say this issue. Here's one. So see this page here under my thumb. It tells you all the bits you need to do it, right? There's like a a 6-piece there, a longer bit there. Yeah, fairly straightforward. It tells you what colours they are as well. This set is 90% black, grey and light grey, with heavy emphasis on the grey and light grey. In the instructions, they're quite hard to tell apart. There were a lot of times where I was looking for light grey and I actually had dark grey, or I mixed it up. There are a few times where I'd sort of cut between them. They look very similar in there. And black's actually all right, to be honest. But there's also white in there, which is a little bit hard to tell. So if you're not great, if you ain't got like great eyesight for it, it might be a bit difficult. What with all the blacks and the greys. Also just means there's not a lot of colour. When every now and again there'd be a blue, a red or a yellow, and you just rejoice because in the huge mound of grey plastic you could see it really easily. Right, I'm gonna do the risky now. I'm gonna pick it up. Immediately anything on the runway will fall off. In fact, let's just take it off. Look, it's a little Quinjet. I really like those. They didn't need to give you them. That's the sort of thing they'd be like, oh, it'll look great if you get these extras, but they do. They give you 3 of them. And I later discovered that this one sort of sits on here quite nicely, so he can stay. These I'm not so sure about. They kind of paint a picture. They add a bit of life to it, I suppose. And these little jets here are pretty cool as well. I don't know if you can even see them with the camera angle. Right, lift. Easy now, easy. Okay, so this is the bit you've never seen before. That's the thruster at the back. It's not hugely well attached. It's just on one sort of peg. What it means is it can rotate. I can't possibly show you that because all my hands are in use holding this. Unless, there we are. Rotate, rotate. Well, you have to trust me on that. It does rotate slightly. There's 2 of them as well. What else is back there? It's just the crank. There's actually kind of hollow. You could stick something up there if you wanted. Not meaning to be sexual. Another thing I quite like, the stickers in this set. There's I'll never find the resting point now. That'll have to do. Yeah, the stickers in this set, there's not many. This one sheet was all of them, and you can see one of them's really big anyway. Because I don't particularly like stickers. They're quite hard to put on correctly. They don't give you any spare ones. But for the most part, there's the numbers on the outside. So there's 4 of the 64s. There's 1 on each of these little SHIELD logo. There's a SHIELD logo inside, behind where the director would stand on the bridge for reference, even though it's basically impossible to see without lifting this out. And here, you fill in these bits of the runway, which the fact that I couldn't quite see them just now means I did an excellent job. So it's quite what's the word? Stringent? No. Nice with the stickers. If there were a lot of stickers, I wouldn't be asked. I'd normally leave them all to the end anyway. Just fix that up. Yeah, so see the SHIELD Helicarrier. I think what I'll do is I'll put an abridged version of the building in this video, and then I'll put the full version up somewhere else in the form of a 30-minute GIF. Oh yeah, how long did it take me? 8 hours or so? I did it over the course of about 4 days. It's very calming to do. They give you one of these, which I said about at the start. It's a brick separator. It works very well for getting the bricks apart that are hard to get apart. I've now got to rebuild this with Quinjets, haven't I? Put one there, I'll put the Incredible Hulk in there. He's to scale. Ultron, I'll put up back here. He's less to scale. I found Hulk and Ultron minifigs. I'm not really sure why I have them. Hulk smash. Just put this around Ultron there, little display for him. Yeah. There's a limit, isn't there? But when you start playing with adult Lego, it's like when are you just having fun building it and when are you just a kid playing with it? Does it matter? No, it doesn't. Yeah, so that's the 76042 SHIELD Helicarrier. On a slightly unrelated note, there's an unopened version of this just over there that I've also got because I accidentally ordered 2 for complicated reasons, so don't know what I'm going to do with that.